thought I would talk through some more points when it comes to the very clear, are you happy with who you are and what you're doing, or are you not? Now, in astrology, you can kind of see the sort of young, fun, exuberant kind of parts of yourself where you can really lean into that. It's more the Gemini parts of your chart. And there's a lot of other ways that you can go about this and that it can show up. Again, it very much depends on what we're talking about when it comes to astrology. But some of the more defined things are, even if you don't know about astrology and it's not something you are hugely interested in yet, I hope I can change that for you. It's the understanding of when you're on the precipice of doing something. And it doesn't matter what it is, if it's big or small. Are you going to an event and you're going there with a certain group of people? How do you feel about it? Are you really, really excited about that event? Or do you have feelings of, there's parts of it I'm interested in, but overall, or I want to go, but I don't like the people who I'm going with. Any of these types of things, you really have to kind of weigh it up. Start thinking about, okay, I know that being around these people kind of drains me. So I'm going to go, and I guess I'm afraid of going alone or whatever. A lot of people are like that. But I'm going with these people. There's a high chance that going with them means that it ruins the entire event. So I guess it comes up to weighing it up, Is my fear of being seen as, I don't know, an outcast or ostracized or whatever by going alone, is that fear overriding the desire to just fit in and go along with something when I don't really like it? All of these types of things, and I'm just giving you one example, I'll give a few more in a bit, but all of these things start to show how we kind of break down ourselves and break down our personality and start doing things against our own choices or nature or anything, really. So the more you do things or surround yourself by people or whatever that quote unquote drain you or make you feel like you can't be yourself, it makes you very unhappy, whatever, the more you do that, the more you head yourself down the wrong direction. Now, the other thing that I don't think people think about, because it just seems like a small thing, but if you have an entire bunch of small things that you do over and over again that you quote unquote don't respect yourself for doing, this is what it comes down to. If you can disrespect yourself and your boundaries, well, what's to stop other people doing it? And you're not going to stop it. You don't stop it when you do it, so how are you going to stop somebody else? This is so... And again, when you bring in astrology, it's going to depend. I'd say with this kind of stuff, it could fit in like the sixth house. The sixth house is very much about your daily routines, the stuff that you do daily, day in and day out. And so, if you've got kind of more of a, I don't know, like Pisces or Gemini, sometimes Virgo, these sort of more, even Libra to a certain extent, but these more signs where it's flexible, things are up in the air, everything's possible. Those are the good parts. But the other parts can be that it's self-sacrificing, that it will kind of put itself on the back burner just to make somebody else, feel better, even to their own detriment. So yes, it's good to help other people, but if it hurts you by doing it, it's not good. And again, if you're around people who respect themselves and they respect you, they know your boundaries, they're not going to do that. But if you're around people who don't respect themselves and they don't respect their boundaries, they don't even know their boundaries, and they don't know you very well, which if they don't know themselves and they're not going to know you very well. That's the reality. Then passing your boundaries isn't a big deal. It's what they do all the time. What's your problem? So that's why this is so important, and that's why it's important to pay attention, even if you don't know and you want to try. You go do something. Afterwards, you're like, I don't know if I should have done that. Remember, sit down and think it through. Do some introspection. Figure out What did you not like about it? What didn't feel good? What made you feel drained after you did it? And evaluate that. And then be honest with yourself and say, okay, the reason I didn't like that event is I didn't like the people that I went with. So next time, go with people you like, people that you don't feel like that around. So then you can focus on the event and have fun rather than feeling drained or, I have to be careful what I say around these people or whatever the situation is. It doesn't really matter. It's more about how you feel about it or what you think. If afterwards, you think, oh, that was a really boring conversation. I didn't really enjoy that. Again, the more times you bypass the stuff that makes you respect yourself, the less you respect yourself. That's how this works. And I don't think this is talked about enough. That's why I'm talking about it. This isn't something that we're really trained to do. And even when we think about it with kids, like parents with kids, or you can think about it of your own childhood with your own parents. How many times did your parents force you to bypass what you were comfortable with? I mean, isn't that kind of the thing parents do? I think it's changing a little bit now, but has it changed enough? And again, this can be difficult. I mean, it's not about you getting to do what you want all the time. Like sometimes there's stuff that we have to do that we don't want to do. I understand that. But if it's something where you genuinely, like this is important to your state of mind, your sense of self, whatever, and your parent forced you to bypass it, or your parent, like they bypassed it, like they just completely ignored that it was important to you and just kept going. I mean, if you think about that in terms of a sequence of your childhood, if that's what was done, it's taught you to bypass your boundaries too. Again, it depends on who we're dealing with. If you have parents who did that, but you're a very strong sort of individual, it's quite likely that you're just like, yeah, I know what that feels like. And when I'm in my adult life, I'm not doing it. It could make you go that direction. But it could be that, which I think is what happens a lot, and I think that's the more rare percentage, if I'm being honest. What happens with most people, I think, is just they get used to that. That's just normal. And I'm telling you, it's not. That's not okay. And again, it's about the compromise. And this can be tricky. Sometimes, like even, I'm sure yourself, you can feel this way, but it might not have been something you were allowed to bring up. You can say, look, parent, whatever, you've crossed what I'm not comfortable with. There's plenty of kids who would get punished for that. So you learn to keep your mouth shut and to deny your own boundaries. So you can see this is going to be a bit of a problem. And I think, look, at the end of the day, in terms of astrology, it's more of the mutable signs for sure. So Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, like these are big ones. Sagittarius, again, it depends. Sagittarius is flexible, but they're very big on what they want to do and what's right. So sometimes that can override it. But again, it would very much depend on the person and where it's placed and the other influences and whatever. Depends on where you have these signs as to where that's going to affect you. All of these things are either really, really helpful and they're positive, or they present challenges. And we all have a mix of those things. That's what's so cool. And again, it can be that to one person it's a problem, right? It could be that, let's just think of some more examples. It could be that, let's just say we have like a Pisces placement in area when it comes to communication. This is probably a good way to put it. It's either a communication point in the chart or one of the planets and asteroids that have to do with communication. Let's just say that's where Pisces is. And you're dealing with someone who bypasses, like they don't have the understanding of you and your challenges with boundaries, because Pisces has problems with that. So they don't know that about you. Let's just say they have an Aries placement there, right? And this is going to be a lesson. This Aries person is going to push past your boundaries because for them, they don't, Aries has a great many qualities, but it's not a sign that's really good at recognizing other people's boundaries. They hardly recognize their own. And I don't mean it as in they let people bypass them. I mean it as like they think about They're like the baby of the zodiac, so they think about themselves. And again, you need some of that because you have to take care of yourself. You have to protect yourself. So you need that in your chart. But if you place that in the wrong spot with someone who's a Pisces, who's used to kind of giving what they do up for other people, and then they get mad about it later, you can see this kind of brings in like a victim mentality. It's a very tricky spot. And again, this can kind of be like, well, you bypassed my boundaries. Now, I'm not saying it's other people's responsibility, but in terms of having a Pisces placement, it's much better to be around people who know you, who don't want to bypass your boundaries. Like they wouldn't dream of it. It's not a problem then, is it? Because they'll be like, oh, well, I know this is an issue for you, so are you sure you want to do it? And then Pisces has the opportunity to say, you know what, actually, no, I don't think I do want to do that. And they're like, yeah, I didn't think so. Whereas someone who's not aware of boundaries, they're not aware of your boundaries, and they're just thinking about themselves and what they want, they're just going to keep doing it. Now, this is not evil. Don't take that, Again, you could look at the Pisces as not being able to stand up for themselves is not such a good thing. You could also take it as the Aries placement as being a bit too, take what they want and not thinking. It all depends on where you place things. It all depends on who you're around. And that's why it's so important to really understand yourself. That's why I can't stress enough how important astrology is. And human design, numerology, these kinds of tools, they help you understand yourself and your bottom line. They help you understand other people too. And then you can make those decisions. Is this something I want to be engaging with or not? Because if it's not, if you go along with it anyway, you are going against yourself. You are showing yourself that you don't matter and that you don't respect yourself. And it leads to further problems. And then again, one day you wake up and you wonder why you don't like yourself, and all these things have happened, and you're not happy, you don't have quality relationships. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. This is just one example. Again, it would depend on other placements. It would depend on how this can show itself. But it's very, very much of a top priority. Even if as a child, and this is probably very likely, you weren't supported in that way. A lot of adults don't know themselves well enough, so they can't help you either as a child. So that can be an interesting thing you have to accept and understand about parents and about adults in general. It takes effort and energy of taking time to understand yourself in order to understand all your little corners and why you do what you do. And that's why it's all the more important the more you recognize that, see it, understand it. The easier it becomes for you to understand if other people are good for you to be around or not. If situations are good for you to be around or not. And you can feel that based on how you feel after you do it. The more you do this, or, it can be even, you're just aware of it already. Again, it depends on what we're talking about. I'm talking about a lot of general things, but the main premise is focus on what you think, what you feel, what you feel in your body, how you're reacting, everything. If you get defensive or you shut down, any of these kinds of reactions, pay attention, because whatever you did before that was probably not the best thing for you to be doing. Same thing when you do something and you feel really positive and happy and inspired and whatever afterwards. That's probably a good direction for you to go. And that's why these little series are so important. Pay attention to those shifts, because the more you do things where you respect yourself, the more you'll respect yourself. Anyway, I hope that was a perspective that was interesting and helpful.